Good morning, students. Today we will discuss about hormones. So hormones are part of endocrine system. Before going into the classification and functions of hormones, we will see about endocrine system. So endocrine system is a system which is responsible for sending and receiving sensory information and coordinating body responses. Generally, in our body, two systems are responsible for sending and receiving sensory information and coordinating body responses. These two systems are nervous system and the endocrine system. Together, these are referred as neuroendocrine system. Coming to endocrine system, the endocrine system regulates body activity by releasing hormones. Hormones are nothing but chemical messengers. These hormones, they will enter into the bloodstream and they carry throughout the body through the blood. Next, the hormonal responses may be almost sudden or may occur days later. So, there is a wide variety of hormonal effects in our body. Coming to the overview of endocrine system. So, endocrine system, let's see the overview. The system, endocrine system, it is a system of ductless glands which secrete hormones. So, coming to the hormones are messenger molecules. They are called as messenger molecules as they carry information from one cell to another cell in order to perform an action. These hormones circulate in the blood. Next, these hormones act on the distant target cells. So, the target cells for the hormones will be located in a distant place. The cells which are having specific receptors for the hormones will act as target cells. So, target cells are nothing but the cells which are having receptors. So, target cells respond to the hormones for which they have receptors. The effects of hormones are dependent on the programmed response of the target cells. Hormones, simply we can term hormones as molecular triggers. Triggers means they will activate the functions of the cell. So, hormones are nothing but the molecular triggers. Coming to the basic categories of hormones. So, hormones are of different kinds based on their composition. Let's see some examples. So, first classification of hormones is amino acid based or modified amino acids. Simply, they may be of amides, they may be of peptides or proteins. So, hormones. First category is amino acid based hormones. These include modified amino acids or amines or a category of peptide hormones and protein hormones. Second category is steroid hormones. Steroid, the name itself indicates they are the lipid molecules. So, hormones which are lipid in nature, that means the hormones which are derived from cholesterol are called steroid hormones. So, next we will see the types of glands in our body. I said that hormones are secreted from ductless glands, those are called endocrine glands. So, what do you mean by ductless glands or endocrine glands? Means in our body, two types of glands are present. There are exocrine glands and endocrine glands. So, the body contains two kinds of glands. There are the exocrine glands and endocrine glands. Coming to the exocrine glands, these glands secrete their products into the body ducts. They secrete their products into the body ducts, which carry the products into the body cavities, finally to the lumen of the organ or outer surface of the body. Example for exocrine glands are sebaceous glands, mucous glands and digestive glands. So, digestive glands are example for exocrine glands. Now, we will see the second type of glands, that is endocrine glands. Endocrine glands, they secrete their products, that means hormones, into the extracellular space around the secretory cells. They secrete their hormones into the extracellular space around the secretory cells. The secretions, that means the hormones, diffuse into the capillaries and they are carried throughout the body by the circulatory system. So, this picture shows the representation of exocrine glands and endocrine glands. So, exocrine glands, they secrete their products into the glands. So, outside. Endocrine glands means here they are secreted within the inside. So, that is about exocrine glands and endocrine glands. Now, we will see the introduction. So, study of hormones is called endocrinology. So, endocrinology The meaning, endon means inside, crine means secretion, logos means study or discussion. So endocrinology is nothing but the study of hormones which are secreted within the body. And the secretions of endocrine glands are nothing but hormones. Hormones meaning means to excite, to trigger, to stimulate. So that is about the definition of endocrine glands and hormones. Now we will see the discovery of hormones. So discovery of hormones. Bayes and Starling in 1902 they discovered the hormone, and the first discovered hormone by them was secretin. So how they discovered means Bayes and Starling in 1902 they were studying digestion and absorption in the isolated loop of duodenum. So they were studying the digestion process and its absorption process in an isolated loop of duodenum. Since the duodenal loop had a blood supply, but it is not having a nerve supply, so they concluded that it could communicate with the pancreas only via some blood-borne substances, and they named those substances as secretin. Now they identified these substances were given as secretin, or they termed the secretin as hormone. So this is about the discovery of the hormone by Bayes and Starling. Now we will see the functions of hormones. So what are the main functions of hormones means? First, they regulate the chemical composition and volume of the internal environment. So they regulate the chemical composition and volume of the extracellular fluid. Second one, they help to regulate the metabolism and energy balance. They help to regulate the contraction of smooth and cardiac muscle fibers and secretion by glands. And the third one is they help to maintain homeostasis despite disruptions such as infection, trauma, emotional stress, dehydration, starvation, hemorrhage, and temperature extremes. So these are the functions, and next we will move to the next function, that is they regulate certain activities of the immune system. They regulate certain activities of the immune system. Mainly hormones play a role in the smooth and sequential integration of the growth and development. Next, they contribute to the basic processes of reproduction, including gamete production, fertilization, nourishment of the embryo and fetus. Coming to the delivery and nourishment of the newborn. So, in delivery and nourishment of the newborn also, hormones play a pivotal role. So, this is about the significant role played by hormones. Now, we will see the classification of hormones. So, before going to hormones, we will see the definition of the hormones. So, hormones can be termed as chemical messengers. They directly secreted into the blood or into the extracellular fluid, and then through the blood they move to the target cells which are having specific receptors. They bind to the receptors and activate the target cells. So, this is the mechanism of action of hormones. Now, we will see the classification of hormones. So, mainly hormones are classified into three categories. The first classification is based on the chemical nature, second one is on the origin, and third one is according to the nature of action. So coming to the first category of classification, that is hormones are classified according to the chemical nature. So first one is steroid hormones. The name itself indicates they are derivatives of steroid. They are made up of steroids. That means they are derived from cholesterol. Example for these hormones are testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. Mainly all the reproductive hormones will come under steroid hormones. The second category is amines. Amine hormones. The name itself indicates they are the amines. Example, the thyroid hormones like T3 and T4, triiodothyronine, tetraiodothyronine. That means thyroid hormones, epinephrine, norepinephrine will come under amine hormones. And the third category is peptide hormones. The name itself indicates these hormones are nothing but peptide in nature. Example, oxytocin and vasopressin. And the fourth category is protein hormones. The name itself indicates these are proteins in nature. Example, insulin and glucagon. which are responsible for maintenance of body sugar levels. And next one is the glycoprotein hormones. So these are glycoproteins in nature, mainly luteinizing hormone LH, which is represented as LH, luteinizing hormone, and follicle stimulating hormone. Follicle stimulating hormone, that is FSH, comes under glycoprotein hormones. And the last one is the eicosanoid hormones. The name itself is nothing but eicosanoids. Example is prostaglandins. Example is prostaglandins. So this is the first category of hormone classification. Second category is based on the origin hormones are classified. So mainly the reproductive hormones derived from four major organs of the system. Reproductive hormones are derived from four major organs of the system. What are the four major organs? Means hypothalamus, anterior and posterior lobe of the pituitary gland, gonads, and placenta, which includes uterus. Next, based on these organs, certain hormones are derived. So let's see them. First one is PIH. PIH is a representation for prolactin inhibiting hormone. Prolactin inhibiting hormone. This hormone is derived from, or it is originated from hypothalamus. The main function, the name itself indicates prolactin inhibiting hormone. So the main function is this hormone inhibits prolactin release from the mammary glands. And next, second one is prolactin release hormone. So this hormone is also derived from hypothalamus, and the main function is it stimulates the release of prolactin, which further involves in the production of milk. So from the hypothalamus, two hormones are produced. They are the prolactin inhibitory hormone, which inhibits the prolactin release, and second one is PRH, prolactin release hormone, which stimulates prolactin release. And third category is gonadotropic release hormones, so which is represented as GnRH, gonadotropin release hormones. So the origin is from hypothalamus. So GnRH hormones, that means gonadotropin release hormones, are secreted from hypothalamus, and the main function of this hormone is stimulate the tonic release of follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormones, which play an important role in gestation pregnancy. So gonadotropin hormone's main function is they stimulate the release of FSH and luteinizing hormones. Next, coming to the another example, that is follicle stimulating hormone, which is represented as FSH. The source is gonadotropes in the anterior lobe of the hypothalamus. So FSH, the source is gonadotropes. Function, coming to the function of FSH, they stimulate the follicular growth in the female and spermatogenesis in male. So the main function of FSH is they stimulate the follicular growth in the female and they trigger spermatogenesis in male. Again, they are also responsible for the maturation of ovarian follicles or Graafian follicles in case of females. The next hormone is LH hormone, that is luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone. So it is originated from gonadotropes in the anterior lobe of pituitary. It is originated from the gonadotropes in the anterior lobe of pituitary. Coming to the main function, it stimulates the ovulation and luteinization of ovarian follicles in the female. And testosterone in case of male form. So testosterone in male, it is helpful for maintenance of male characters. Next we will see prolactin. So prolactin is originated from anterior lobe of pituitary. Anterior lobe of pituitary. Coming to the main function of prolactin, it initiates and maintains lactation. That means milk ejection. And next, it also promotes the maternal behavior. That means mother characters in the females. Next one is oxytocin. So it is oxytocin. It is a hormone which is secreted from supraoptic nucleus of the hypothalamus and ovary. So it is secreted from the supraoptic nucleus of hypothalamus and ovary of ovaries. Coming to the functions, mainly it stimulates the uterine contraction. So oxytocin reacts on the uterus cells and it will cause uterine contraction. Besides this, it is also responsible for milk letdown. And the ovarian oxytocin involved in luteal function acts on the endometrium to induce PGFO alpha secretion. Next hormone is melatonin. So melatonin, it is a hormone responsible for the maintenance of ovarian cycles. So mainly it is secreted from the pineal gland. Melatonin is secreted from pineal gland. Coming to the functions of melatonin, it induces or it is responsible for the induction of ovarian cycles and inhibition of cyclicity in male. Next hormone is estrogen. Estrogen, which is represented as E2. Coming to the main source of estrogen is produced from the theca interna of the ovarian follicle and fetal placental unit. Coming to the functions of estrogen, mainly this is responsible to induce behavioral estrus in the female. So that is responsible for the maintenance of menstrual cycle in female and the physical development of female. Next, it is responsible for the development of secondary sexual characteristics in females. It stimulates the duct growth and causes the development of mammary glands. It is responsible to increase body weight gain and growth in case of females. So, estrogen plays a vital role in females. Now, we will move to the progesterone. So, progesterone, it is produced from the luteal cells of corpus luteum, at the same time placenta, and from the adrenal glands. So, three sources are there for progesterone. The main source is luteal cells of corpus luteum, second one is the placenta, and the third one is adrenal glands. Coming to the functions of progesterone, mainly it prepares the endometrium. So, in females, it prepares the endometrium for implantation and maintenance of pregnancy. Next, it acts synergistically with estrogen to produce behavioral estrus. That means, along with the estrogen, this progesterone is responsible for the maintenance of menstrual cycle in females. And next, it develops the secretory tissue of the mammary glands. So, development of the mammary gland will depend upon progesterone secretions. Next, this will inhibit estrus and the ovulatory surge at the high levels. So, this is about the hormone estrogen. Now, we will discuss about testosterone. Testosterone is the male hormone, and coming to the source of testosterone, it is produced from the Vedic cells in the testis and limited amount is secreted by adrenal cortex. Now we will see the functions. So coming to the function, the first function is development and maintenance of sex glands. In case of males, this is mainly responsible for the development and maintenance of the sex glands. It stimulates secondary sexual characteristics in male and sexual behavior and spermatogenesis. It is responsible for the sexual behavior and spermatogenesis in male. So, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone can be simply said to be sex hormones, which are mainly responsible for the reproduction. Now, we will see the next hormone, that is relaxin. So, relaxin. Coming to the sources of relaxin, mainly it is secreted by the corpus luteum during pregnancy. And in small amounts, it is secreted from placenta and uterus. Coming to the function, it is mainly responsible for the dilation of the cervix and vagina before conception. That means it is responsible for the induction of labor. During delivery, it is responsible for the induction of labor. And mainly this relaxin inhibits uterine contraction so that baby can be easily delivered. So this is about relaxin. Now, another hormone which is antagonist to relaxin is inhibin. Coming to the source of inhibin, it is mainly secreted from serotonic cells in male, serotonic cells in male, and granulosa cells in female secretes this inhibin. Coming to the functions of inhibin, it inhibits the release of follicle stimulating hormone to a level, and mainly It is responsible or it maintains number of ovaries. So this is responsible for the maintenance of ovaries. And the next hormone is activin. Activin. The main source of this activin hormone is follicular fluid in female. So it is secreted from the follicular fluid of females and ready testis fluid in case of males. The main function of this activin is it stimulates the follicle stimulating secretion. So this is about inhibin and activin. Now we will see about prostaglandins. Now we will see about prostaglandins. So prostaglandins, these are steroid in nature. Mainly these prostaglandins are secreted from endometrium of uterus. So almost all body tissues secrete prostaglandins. Mainly they are secreted from the endometrium of uterus. Coming to the main functions, mainly they repress the corpus luteum. So regression of the corpus luteum is the main function. Next, contraction of the smooth muscles in the reproductive and gastrointestinal tract. Erection, ejaculation, sperm transport, ovulation, formation of corpus luteum, partition, and methylation. That means prostaglandins are mainly responsible for the reproduction. So this is about prostaglandins. So now we will see the overall representation of the hormones secretion. Hypothalamus. Hypothalamus, by the nervous stimulation, it secretes different hormones. So when a stimulus moves to the hypothalamus, immediately hypothalamus will secrete different activities. From hypothalamus, the message will pass to anterior pituitary gland, and this anterior pituitary gland will secrete releasing hormones like thyrotropin, adrenocorticotropic hormone, somatotropin, luteinizing hormones, follicle stimulating hormones, next to prolactin. In the same way, the hypothalamus, when the stimulus reaches the hypothalamus, this stimulus will move to the posterior pituitary gland, and this posterior pituitary gland will secrete two hormones, that is vasopressin and oxytocin. Vasopressin and oxytocin. These vasopressin and oxytocin will mainly responsible for the uterine muscle contractions. Vaso means vessel, pressin means constriction. Now we will see this anterior. So when a stimulus moves to the hypothalamus, what will happen? It moves. This hypothalamus will passes a message to the anterior pituitary gland, which secretes releasing hormones like thyrotropin. This thyrotropin will act on thyroid gland, mainly it will act on thyroid cortex gland, and it secretes T3 hormone, T4 hormones, that means thyroid hormones. The secreted thyroid hormones will show action on muscles and liver. In the same way, the adrenocorticotropic release hormone, adrenocorticotropic release hormone will act on the adrenal glands, mainly it will act on adrenal cortex, and it secretes cortisol and aldosterone. So it secretes cortisol and aldosterone, and these secreted hormones will act on tissues. Now we will see about somatotropin. So this somatotropin, this is the hormone releasing hormone secreted from anterior pituitary gland. This somatotropin will go and act on pancreas, and this pancreas with the stimulation, it secretes insulin, glucagon, and somatostatin, which are responsible for the maintenance of blood glucose levels in our body, and the target tissue is liver and muscles. In the same way, luteinizing hormone secreted from the anterior pituitary gland will act on the ovaries, and it secretes estradiol, so which acts on reproductive organs, and the follicle stimulating hormone will act on testes and results in the secretion of testosterone. Now we will move to the next, the adrenal medulla hormone. So they secrete epinephrine. So this is the overall view of the classification of hormones. Next we will go to the second category, that is classification of hormones according to the nature. So according to the nature, the hormones are classified into different categories, mainly three. Those are general hormones, specific hormones, local hormones. So based on the mode of action, nature of action, hormones are classified into three categories: general hormones, specific hormones, local hormones. Now we will see the general hormones. So growth hormone influence nearly all body tissues. Similar in case with the thyroid and insulin hormones. So they are called as general hormones. So by this we can conclude that general hormones will affect all the system. They show their action on the system. So they are called as general hormones. The best example for general hormones are thyroid hormones and insulin hormones, as they are affecting all the body tissues. Coming to the second category, that is the specific hormones. These hormones affect functions of specific organs. For example, follicle stimulating hormones and androgens. Androgens will affect only testes, like that. So specific hormones means the action is to specific organs only. Coming to the local hormones, they act locally to their site of production. That means nearer to their site of action, they will show action. Example for this is prostaglandins and acetylcholine histamine. So local hormones, example prostaglandins, histamine, they act where they are produced. So they are termed as local hormones. Now we will see the mode of action of lipophilic hormones. So before going into that, simply we can categorize hormones based on their solubility. So first one is hydrophilic hormones and lipophilic hormones. The name itself indicates hydrophilic. Philic means loving, hydro means water. The hormones which are soluble in water are called as hydrophilic hormones, generally proteins, peptides. They will come under hydrophilic. And the hormones which are soluble in steroids, fat soluble. That means they are composed of cholesterol. They are said to be lipophilic hormones. So now we will discuss about the mode of action of lipophilic hormones. Generally, hormones like steroid hormones, they bind with the protein receptors which are present inside the cell, or inside the cell means again they may present in the cytoplasm or in the nucleus. So these hormones are lipid soluble and hence they can easily cross the cell membrane, they enter into the cell and they bind to the receptor present in the cytoplasm or in the nucleus and they form hormone receptor complex. Then this hormone receptor complex will go and bind to the specific regulatory sequences of the DNA which are called as hormone response element. And this hormone response element will be activated and it stimulates the transcription of specific genes which leads to mRNA formation. And thus formed mRNA moves from nucleus into the cytoplasm and then it leads to the protein synthesis. Thus, lipophilic hormones will act. So this is the picture depicting the mode of action of lipophilic hormones. So this is the steroid hormone. So steroid hormones can diffuse into the cell. So it passes into the cell membrane and enter into the cell and the steroid hormone will go and bind to the receptor present either in the cytoplasm or in the nucleus. Then as a result, hormone receptor complex is produced. Then this complex will move into the nucleus and it will go and bind to the specific genes which are called as hormone response element. And this hormone response element will lead to the transcription of specific genes. As a result, mRNA is produced. And this mRNA moves into the cytoplasm and then specific proteins will be produced and these proteins will show the effect of the hormone. So this is the mode of action of steroid hormones. Now we will move to the mode of action of hydrophilic hormones. So hydrophilic hormones are water soluble hormones. So as they are water soluble, they can't enter into the cell membrane. So first one is they can't enter into the cell membrane. General examples of proteins peptide hormones are the general examples for hydrophilic hormones. So these hormones will contain cell surface receptors. They contain cell surface receptors. The best example here is G protein coupled receptor is explained with this chart. G protein coupled receptor. So what will happen? The hormone will come and bind to the receptor which is present in the cell surface. So first one is the hormone will bind to the receptor. So before going into the mechanism, we have to be clear of two words, that is first messenger, second messenger. So first messenger is nothing but the hormone. Second messenger is nothing but the chemical substance which is produced by binding of the hormone to the receptor within the cell, and this second chemical substance will carry the function of the first messenger. So second messenger is nothing but the chemical which is produced in response to the hormones within the cell, and this will cause the action. So first coming to the mechanism. What will happen? The hormone will come and bind to the receptor. Here the receptor is G protein coupled receptor. So this is also called as second transmembrane receptor. That means the protein will span 7 times the membrane. And once the receptor, and this receptor is bound with the protein, that is G protein. So this receptor is termed as G protein receptor. Coming to the G protein is a primary protein. That means it is composed of 3 subunits, alpha, beta, gamma. So what will happen here means, once the hormone binds to the receptor, what will happen? A conformation change in the receptor will occur. As a result, G protein will be activated. And next, what will happen means, once the G protein is activated, this G protein will activate adenylate cyclase enzyme. Receptor activates G protein. So once the G protein is activated, the activated G protein will activate adenylate cyclase enzyme. This activated adenylate cyclase enzyme will convert cellular ATP into the second messenger, that is cyclic AMP. Means cyclic adenosine monophosphate. Thus produced cyclic AMP will activate, or it will convert inactive protein kinase into active protein kinase. So once the protein kinase is activated, what will happen? It will phosphorylate the target enzymes. So the activated protein kinase triggers responses of the target cell. That means activates the enzymes, stimulates the cellular secretions, and opens into the channels. So this is the mode of action of hydrophilic hormones. I once repeat. So hydrophilic hormones are water soluble hormones. So they can't enter into the cell. So they are having cell surface receptor. So in this, I am going to explain an example, that is GPCR, G protein coupled receptor. That means the receptor is coupled with the G protein, hence the name. Coming to the nature, this is a cell surface receptor, and it spans the membrane for 7 times. So it is called as 7 transmembrane receptor, or it is also called as serpentine receptor. So generally, when the hormone is not bound, the G protein will be in the inactive state. So once the hormone is bound to the receptor, what will happen? Hormone receptor complex is produced. As a result, a conformation change in the receptor will occur. So this conformation change will activate the bound GTP. The bound GTP will be activated. So once the GTP is activated, what will happen? The activated G protein will activate the enzyme adenylate cyclase, and this activated adenylate cyclase will convert ATP into CAMP, which is called a second messenger. You have to call it as second messenger, not secondary messenger. The first messenger is hormone, the second messenger is the cyclic AMP. So cyclic AMP will activate the inactive protein kinases so that they will be activated, and this activated protein kinases will carry the function. That means they activate the enzymes or they phosphorylate the secretions like that, and they are responsible for the cellular functions. So this is about the mode of action of hormones. Thank you all.